Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Frank Conversations here on the Spiritual Playboy Network. I am here with a dear friend of mine, Gonzalo Salinas, who is a sex educator, author, and men's coach. Originally from Lima, Peru, now resides in the United States of America. What makes Gonzalo so special and why I invited him here today is because he defeated a 20-year addiction to pornography and now has committed his life to supporting men to overcome these addictions to pornography and to support men to claim their masculinity and to live a healthy and abundant lifestyle. So I would like us to welcome Gonzalo. Gonzalo, welcome to the show. So good to see you again, my friend.
Frank, thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity to connect with your audience.
You're very, very welcome. And so, yeah, this is a big conversation. And I would really like to talk about this story of addiction and pornography. And I just want to start off right at the top on how much I appreciate and respect the fact that you are taking on this journey and this cause, and more so that you have, you're admitting to this, that you're coming out into the world. A lot of men hold shame around their pornography use, especially if it goes into the realm of addiction. And here you are using yourself as an example, coming to the people and using yourself as the example for the work that you're doing. So just off the top, tons of respect for coming out and holding the point for this very, very important conversation, and a conversation that is prevalent in today's society, with both men and women turning to pornography as an outlet for whatever reasons. So this is what I want to get into today. I want this to be an education piece as well as an inspiration piece for whoever is who is watching. So before we begin, anything you want to say about this journey and how it's been to come out as a sex educator, specifically around addiction and pornography?
Absolutely. And one of the most important things, Frank, is I really want to take what you said, which is a lot of men are holding, this is a problem that is rampant for men and women. I chose to work with men because I found that there's not that much help for men out in the market. That's the only reason. But I still work with something like 10% of my clients are women, but I have chosen to focus on men. Now, what you said is extremely important to highlight, because a lot of men are feeling shame and guilt, and they don't open up, and not connecting with a circle of men, not connecting with a group of men, or with a social group that support your healing process is extremely detrimental for the healing process. So putting away the shame and putting away the guilt is a whole different monster that we need to deal with when we start this process. And finally, something that is important to mention is that healing porn addiction is just half of the work, only half. The other half is recognizing that your sexual energy is amazing. If you're a healthy man, you must feel that beautiful sexual energy. And now what you're going to do consciously with your sexual energy after you are not wasting it to the porn industry. Now what you're going to do and how you're going to use it, that's part of the work. That's the other half. So just mentioning that, and here I am for any question, brother.
Love it. So we're going to go through all of that. I love the frame you gave it. So let's start off with the shame piece. Mm-hmm. So you work with many men. You know, there's the first step, I would say, is like breaking the taboo of admitting that potentially one has a porn addiction. So the shame and guilt that comes with that. Any suggestions for men on this first step who feel that they are, you know, giving a bit too much energy to their sexual energy to pornography? What are the first steps that you suggest in terms of overcoming that shame to step out and reach out to you or anybody doing this work?
As much as it sounds as something obvious, Frank, making a decision. Because making a decision is one of the most amazing powers that a man has to operate in life. When you make a decision and there's no plan B, there's no other choice, there's your decision and that's it. And when you decide to actually stop giving your creative energy to the porn industry, because we need to see the whole panorama, right? And obviously I can talk to you in these terms because you and of course your audience understand this type of language. Sexual energy is creative energy. You create your reality using your sexual energy, instilling on the sustained focus point of your mind. You start instilling the emotional force and the sexual energy into that. And the more you sustain, the more you bring that into your reality, you know? So what happens when you are giving your mental focus, your emotional force, and your sexual energy to the porn industry? You are perpetuating that creation in detriment of your own sexual life. Because what happened with a man that is abusing this is they are not only perpetuating and feeding from the spiritual perspective, feeding the porn industry is using you as a human battery. And imagine this, you are right here and you have the screen right here. There's literally nothing there because it's a sex scene that was shot in the past, right? So you are not in present time, you are not in masculine presence. And not only that, but also you are giving your orgasmic creative energy to them. So you are a human battery for them. So when a man comes to me and they say, no, but I don't pay money. And I'm like, you are giving your most valuable asset, which is your sexual
life force energy. Yeah.
You know? So basically a man that is operating that way is really hurting his sexual life with a potential human being that will have sex with him. Why is that? Because the human brain doesn't know how to make the distinction between a real, I'm an heterosexual man, so I'm going to talk in these terms, a real woman or a fiction on the screen. Your brain will do what your brain has been doing for thousands of years. Whenever you find something that needs motivation, your brain segregates dopamine. Dopamine is a hormone of motivation and basically the hormone that moves you into action, you know? So your brain is seeing right there a young, fertile female that can potentially receive your genetic information through intercourse. So immediately your brain starts segregating that amount of dopamine. And the problem is that men, the way a man that is abusing this, the way they are seeing porn, because they open 10 tabs at the same time, they fast forward to the most hardcore part of the scene, and then once they finish the setup, then they start masturbating to that, jumping from one to one. Each new porn star is a new shot of dopamine. What is going to happen is that you are literally burning the dopamine receptors in your brain, in the reward system, and then you are not capable of having any reward function in your brain working at optimal levels. And dopamine is one of the crucial elements that participate in the male erection. Basically, you get the outer impression, usually a female, and you start feeling that, and the dopamine starts activating the cascades of neurotransmitters, neuropeptides, or hormones that activate your cock to be erected, But what happened with a car whose starter is burned? No matter what, it's not going to turn on. So it's exactly with the brain that you're basically burning the dopamine receptors. So you start having problems with having first limp erections, and until a problem like something that happened to me, which I totally lost my erection. It took me 93 days, Frank, working with a Tantra teacher with lingam massage. And I was literally dating this Tantra teacher, and she helped me 93 days. No matter what she did, I couldn't have an erection. Wow. Until I was able of having the erection. And believe me, today, I'm so grateful for having my erection. And not only that, but I realized that sex can give you the same opportunity of joy is exactly the same opportunity of misery. So now that I've experienced the worst misery through sexuality, now I have a different sense of appreciation for sex, for my sexual life, my erection, and all that. So that's why I'm living this mission. And you'll see me when I'm 98 years old. You will see me helping men. By the way, by that time, it's going to be like a porn in VR and like literally creating avatars. You know what's happening right now in Silicon Valley? There are companies that are going to be launched in like 5, 6, 7 years, something like that. Just rough calculation. Literally, you can create your own avatar, your own porn actress, and you can decide absolutely everything: her personality, her character, the color of her hair, the shape of her breasts, how thick their vaginal lips are, things like that. She can even send you text messages when you are at work. So that's literally going into the matrix, you know? And imagine a man that is living a average life, and now he has on a computer program, he has the hottest woman of his dreams because he designed that woman, and all the VR, gadgets to masturbate with, even devices to masturbate, like the flashlight, all that connected to that program. So as much as I am extremely optimistic, what is coming to the marketplace is a little dark, so that's why the light workers of sexuality need to step up and start teaching men that there's nothing like sex. Sex is the most beautiful thing in the world. It's something that makes you remember the actual state of the soul, which is ecstasy, and we have the opportunity to live that here on this planet. So that's why I'm on that mission, brother.
I hear you, and thank you so much for speaking so eloquently and clearly and knowledgeably on this topic. You've definitely informed me so much. I think, when we look at the pornography pandemic, what I think, supports pornography or men's turn to pornography is what I would call accessibility to sexual partners, to actually live sexual experiences with real people versus living in the imaginary world. And as we live in this more and more this virtual world, we seem to have more and more friends, but less and less physical contact. And when we look at what's going on with the pandemic here, and I'm in Montreal, we're literally in isolation for the second time in 1 year for over 2 weeks. This starts to weigh on individuals and their sexual life force is like wanting an outlet. And pornography, once upon a time, pornography was a luxury product, meaning you had to leave your home, you had to go to the video store or the bookstore, you had to purchase something. So you had to take money out of your pocket, purchase it, take it home, and then consume it. Nowadays, it's like the tip of your fingers, 24/7 for free, anything that you could imagine in tons of options. So when we start to compare the access to pornography and to get off on pornography versus the access to a real life person and that relationship and even just meeting them, forget about the details of the relationship and what it takes to maintain the relationship, but just the accessibility. I find that this is the biggest crutch that we experience. So do you have any suggestions to men as to how to live more embodied sexuality and less virtual sexuality?
You just hit it on the nail, exactly, because a lot of people don't understand that what we used to call porn is not the porn that is out there anymore. Because basically this happened in the mid 2000s, right? When this got completely out of control due to three things. Number one, mainly companies, high-tech companies from California that started developing more advanced gadgets that could support downloading basically on image support. Before you couldn't watch a movie only 40 seconds and then it would stop, download it again, and then another 40 seconds. When they started changing the video cards in the computers, now they could support in seconds, an entire movie. Before, I don't know if you remember these download sites like eDonkey, eMule, or Kazan or stuff like that, before. So changing technology, then the appearance of the tube sites, RedTube, X videos, Pornhub, all that literally created the so-called democracy of porn. Everyone with a camera in a hotel room, a couple having sex, could upload porn. And the other one is the world completely paved with high-speed internet. So it was a perfect wave because of these three things that porn became totally anonymous, accessibility 100%, and free. So literally anybody with a screen and an internet connection could watch literally more. You could see more naked girls in 1 hour than your grandfather saw in his entire life, literally. So it became a huge problem because it is extremely addictive. Why is addictive? Is because for free, basically the way your brain gives you dopamine, which is a highly pleasurable and causes euphoria in your brain. The way your brain is designed to give you dopamine is through achievement, You achieve something, you close a good deal, a good business deal, you conquer a woman's heart, you graduate from school, and then woo, you have this rush of dopamine. Now, just for clicking on something, you get your dopamine rush. Every new female that your brain process is a new dopamine rush. So literally, you are fooling your brain and burning your reward system for no reason. So it's crazy. So you are asking me what are the ways men can embody more. Men that are trying to heal from porn addiction must be well informed, knowing that after they quit porn cold turkey, they will go even down, more down. Why is that? Is because they go into a process that is called rebooting, okay? All the terms that I must say that all the terms that I'm giving you come from the how men that are trying to heal, supporting or healing themselves have created throughout the internet, because the World Diagnosis Manual, the DSM-5 for psychiatrists and psychologists, still don't recognize porn as an addiction. It recognizes as a compulsive sexual behavior, but it's not an addiction for them. But what I see in real life are men really suffering, completely addicted. And it is normal that when something like that appears, it takes probably like 10 years for the DSM-5, the next edition, to recognize. Anyway, I need to say that because a lot of psychologists, they have to follow the manual and they don't know what to do. So it's important that to think out of the box and get the information from out there. So the term that I was referring is called rebooting. Rebooting is when your brain starts, after you quit porn cold turkey, starts coming back to default settings. But guess what? Because of neuroplasticity, you need to be very, very patient, because the brain, you've probably been programming your brain for porn 5, 8, 10, 12 years. In my case, it was 20 years. As a matter of fact, 22 years. I started when I was 11 and I got so hooked. You know, because you are a great sex educator. I've had the privilege of studying under you, and I'm like very happy. And you recognize one of your people, which is people that are really moved by sexuality. It's usually people that love sex. It's people that whatever is related to sexuality is something that call us. We have a very, very high sexual desire, and that is precisely where we trip, in the space of sexuality. So a man that is, like very has this strong sexual energy, there is a bigger chance that when he starts, he start this compulsive behavior towards porn and start creating an addiction. Unfortunately, what you said at the beginning, because of the shame and guilt and all the prohibition, the cultural prohibition towards sexuality, we don't talk. And when we are 25, we've been consuming porn daily for 15 years, and the addiction is already there. So reversing that is not going to happen in 20, 30 days. It might take 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, like my case, So 3 recommendations for the men that are trying, be well informed that it will take time. So don't be desperate. Number 2, no matter what, don't go back to porn, because then with porn, you will have the erection, you will feel super excited and everything, but you will give the strength again to the neuronal connections associated to porn, and you will weaken your natural neuronal connections associated to real life sex. And the last one would be, for sure, find a support group. For sure, that's extremely important. A support group allows you to open up, and when you open your soul, the magic happens.
Okay, so are you suggesting that like one of the only ways to get over porn addiction is cold turkey? You leave it behind and you let it go, and then you get your support and you work with people, and so there's no other way. You wouldn't be able to like say, okay, I've got a porn addiction. I want to wean myself off of it. Because sometimes it feels like if you say no to something, it's almost taboo that you got to, go towards it. Even as like smoking tobacco, it's like, you take the patch and you slowly come off. Are you suggesting that the best way to deal with porn addiction is cut it out cold turkey?
Yes, and I'm going to tell you why. There is actually science behind that. Is because you really need to like create other neural pathways to start fortifying your real sexual life, because you've been creating these connections linked to porn. And the problem is that even if you cut 95% and you still have that 5% is still fortifying those connections, and it doesn't allow you to go back to your normality in your brain. Normality, I'm talking about just default settings, being capable of getting aroused by a real woman. Like, it is very sad. And this happened to me, and I've seen this many times, a lot of men having limp erections. So it's not only that you damage the dopamine receptors, it's also, for example, the way your body starts generating nitric oxide. And nitric oxide is extremely important. It's the element to close the valves of the erectile tissue of the penis. So the blood will not remain inside of your penis. So maybe you might be, if you are capable of having an erection, you might have the erection and half the way goes down, So there is, and there are other factors, because remember that the consequences of high porn addiction consumption are psychological, are physiological, and are emotional. So, for example, I've seen so many men becoming isolated. Your brain starts seeing everything that gives you joy, pure dopamine, starts looking a little gray, because the only thing that gives you that super high of dopamine is porn. So they start isolating and consuming more and more and more porn. That's one thing. Another thing is you start becoming anxious. And I'm talking about like clinical chronic anxiety, or even going into first a little depression, and then you can go into like deep depression. I've seen that. The second part is the physiological, which is I know you work with a lot of men, you've done a lot of men's work. And you know that men, unfortunately, in our culture, don't ask that much for help. Men ask for help when they're like in the last stage, And two things that call them to ask for help: severe premature ejaculation, not ejaculation at all for loss of sensitivity, or which is called delayed ejaculation, or the other one, which is erectile dysfunction, partial or total. That's when the men start asking for help. And the emotional part, and this is actually extremely important, especially for the people that wants to go into sacred sexuality. It takes you out of the present moment. it takes you out of your body. You are with your consciousness somewhere else instead of being in your body. So your body, which has its own intelligence, can start coming into the frequency of your lady's body, you know? But, and the third part is incapacity to connect emotionally. Because literally you are training your brain to do something like a mechanic exchange, and you are not connecting emotionally with the porn actress of the screen. So there are many things out there that are consequences of porn that the majority of men are not seeing. And when they are in trouble, they ask for help, and then they realize, oh, all the time this was linked to porn and I didn't know. And just because porn is something that you do in the privacy of your room when nobody's watching, that doesn't mean that will not have a repercussion in every area of your life.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. And so to get more precise, we're talking about porn addiction, but I'm curious for the people watching, it's like, how would you define a porn addiction? Like, what amount of porn is considered porn addiction? Is using any type of porn or any frequency, is there any place for it? Can it be used as an entertainment purpose, or like here and there? First and foremost, I want to be clear with how you define the addiction aspect of it. So as a man, I'm a consumer of pornography. You know, I have my practice. I'm speaking like in general. I have my practice, and I would like to know, when does it become an addiction?
As I mentioned before, the DSM-5 doesn't consider it an addiction.
Right, I get that.
I do, and a lot of the people that I follow and have been educated by them, they do consider that an addiction, you know. And in reality, there's nothing written in stone. But basically, there is a moment when this starts interfering with your life. And besides that, it starts taking away your willpower. When that starts happening, and like on my book, Conquering Porn Addiction, which is available on Amazon, took me a couple of years to do the research and actually to write the book. By the end of the second chapter, I put a series of 20 questions of potential, like alarms of that can be, you might have a porn addiction without knowing it or stuff like that. But usually it's like when it's interfering with your life, when it's causing physiological problems, when it's causing emotional problems, when it's causing psychological problems that I just explained, when it's, I've had men on my private practice that have lost their jobs for watching porn in their office, have lost their marriage. I remember clearly, as a matter of fact, there was a high executive that was working for a Fortune 500 company, and he lost his marriage. He was married to a beautiful wife and two beautiful little daughters, and the wife started finding something weird, first in sex, then in his behavior and stuff like that. And then she thought that he had an affair. So she put like a program that records everything that gets on the screen, right? And what happened was that instead of she discovering an affair, she discovered a porn addiction. Not only that, but also this guy was always going for a porn categories. By the way, porn categories give you a lot of information of what is not resolved in the psyche of that man, and what are the sexual fantasies that are not being fulfilled. So that's extremely useful material. So for this man was always going for the teen category. So immediately the reasoning of the wife was, you're going to harm my daughters. So she got a divorce. It was so sad. The man, I remember the man on Zoom crying like Gonzalo. I don't know, like it was so heartbreaking, But I get to see these cases all the time, every single day, brother. And it also, like, I'm a human being. It also breaks my heart, as much as I don't like put all my emotions there, but you get the point. So when I get to see this, it is usually the way it interferes with you having a normal life,
So it's less like frequency and more like the signs emerging from the behavior. Once upon a time, as a guidepost, I was saying, like, if you're watching porn 3 to 5 times a week, you might want to consider look at that behavior, because you might be falling into a porn addiction. That's why I was saying completely unscientific.
Yeah. No. But in general, there is something absolutely clear that I want to state, and is, as much as I've been taking this as a life mission, people think that I'm against porn, and that's not my battle at all. I am helping the men that are actually seeking for help, because as much as I might like or dislike porn still is going to be out in the market, because there is a huge demand for that, Now, remember that a part of my work in what I've worked with the Mankind Project, and also my personal things, is living a masculine life of integrity, And the more that I've researched the porn industry, the more that I've found that it's a criminal industry.
That's the biggest heartbreaker I find. Exactly. It's like, watching this, yes, there's an enjoyment factor and whatnot, but what's going on behind the scenes in regards to how the content is created is not really ethical. And if we look at the trends that are happening on the internet through like these tube sites and whatnot, we see a high level of degrading behavior towards women specifically. This is highly concerning. And even for me, as of course, I consume pornography. I think everybody does to a certain extent, except unless you've done the work like you. So thank you for being you. So as you're consuming this also feeds into the guilt of the practice, at least for me, is that knowing that this is not ethical work that's being done, and then you're watching it and getting off and getting all this like ecstasy, and recognizing that how it was created was completely out of integrity. So creates a level of shame as well.
Yes, absolutely. There is a Pulitzer awarded a journalist. His name is Nicholas Kristof, that I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, he wrote this article in the New York Times, in the Sunday edition, like central article about what Pornhub specifically has been doing since it was created as a company. And not only that, is being profiting out of the worst moments of many people. For example, a lot of people were uploading rape videos, and that allowed, like, literally 15 days ago, Pornhub took out the download button. But before they took the download button, basically a lot of people were watching rapings, sex with minors, pedophile videos, and behind that, like, I've seen and I've interviewed porn stars that, like, they were completely open, telling me that what are so-called talent agencies in reality are prostitution rings camouflaged, and not only that, but also the way there is this girl that was kidnapped for 2 years in Florida, the place where I used to live. And she was kidnapped and completely disappeared. And then her mom found her. I'm talking about a 15-year-old girl, found her in 47 videos on Pornhub.
Wow.
47.
Wow.
And this is actually documented on the New York Times. This is not things that I can make up. So basically, the way I see it is, I want men to enjoy sexuality. I want men to really recognize their total power through sexuality. And if they usually come to me when they have a porn problem, we need to clear that first and then start building their sexual life from zero. Because all their brain programming is, based on porn arousal. A real woman is like a vanilla ice cream. It does nothing to them. Not an erection, not they don't feel nothing from the hormonal perspective. So for me, it is black and white if they want to heal the problem. Now, am I going to be naive to think, the porn is going to finish? It's not. Porn is going to be there, and they're going to have all these virtual reality, all the
artificial intelligence, all of it. It's all going to start playing into. I mean, the porn industry pretty much advanced the whole internet. It's probably the largest money maker on the internet. And advanced all technology. So yeah, porn is at the head of technological innovation.
I was reading this article. What are the tech companies that have changed humanity the most in the last 15 years? So the first one is Google. The second one is Apple. The third one is Pornhub. Imagine that. And we still, this is so taboo that we don't talk about that. But guess what? Frank, mark my words, brother. Mark my words. In the next 10 to 15 years, every single Secretary of Health or Ministry of Health on planet Earth, in one way or another, will take measures to protect their population for the porn pandemic. Mark my words, it's going to happen. It's happening already.
And I think one of the way, you could meet that very superficially with laws and whatever. But until we acknowledge the importance of our sexual life force energy, and we teach men and women and all sexualities and all expressions of that sexuality is healthy, that it is not something to be ashamed of, it's not necessarily something to hold and protect. I feel that as we learn how to more responsibly engage with our sexuality and treat each other, then the more we could experience it with each other, the more access that we have towards embodiment, the less we will go towards the shadow expressions of sexuality, such as pornography. So although I'm excited and encouraged by the idea of the government's taking over and whatever, until we've actually attacked or addressed, address the shaming culture around the religious perspectives of sexuality, I think there's always going to be a divide. As long as your sexuality is wrong and shameful and shadowy, because you shouldn't be having having sex as a being unless you're married and whatnot. As long as that exists, there will always be shadowy expressions such as prostitution, pornography, and so on and so forth. So yeah, I'm very encouraged. I like the idea that we're having this conversation. I like that, MasterCard or the Visa, whatever, stop processing payments towards people like YouPorn, because that is going to continuously make it more difficult to distribute the pornography. And that's the big change between pre-2000 and post-2000 is the accessibility point of it. I mean, I remember, viewing pornography on the internet like in 1995. The internet just emerged, and we had, you could find pictures, but the internet was so slow that the picture would take so long to load. I mean, I was coming out of high school that time. So I literally, as a 42-year-old man, saw the whole curve and the influx of pornography and the advancements of technology, and then having, photos come quickly, and then having them on all topics. And then video comes in, but video was super slow and then got faster. Now it's like find anything, super fast, at the tip of your fingers, whole content. So it's wild. So Gonzalo, I want to really thank you so much for your time and in bringing this information. I feel like I've learned a lot through this conversation. One of the reasons why I wanted to have you on this call was to get more educated, and I think you are fantastic in the content and the knowledge you have on this content. I just want to give you an opportunity to address the men watching or the women watching, and give them your last piece of advice or motivation for them to take more power over their sexuality.
Thank you so much, Frank. As you know, I'm very expressive, and I've told you how much I admire you and how much, I look up to you. And you saw me when I started with the International School of Temple Arts, because I was actually under your teaching. So I am extremely grateful for that, and I will always be grateful to you, brother. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And for the audience, if you are right now a man or a woman that you think that porn might be a problem in your life, the number one thing that I recommend you is, please speak up. Speak up, ask for help, and connect with someone. You can connect with me or with many other organizations that are out there. Well, I shouldn't say many. Unfortunately, there are a few of them out there, but ask for help, because I haven't found a single person that has been able to heal from porn addiction by himself or herself. So ask for help, connect with someone, get the right information. My book is 30% my personal story, 70% tools of to heal. Is available on Amazon. It's called Conquering Porn Addiction by Gonzalo Salinas. I'll be honored. Even if you want me to send you the PDF for free, I will do it for the sake of my mission. So the most important part, speak up, connect with someone on a deeper level, and start your healing process.
Beautiful. And so how should people contact you if they're interested in working with you?
Well, they can contact me directly send me an email. It is gonzalo@gonzalosalinas.net. Actually, easier would be Instagram. They can send me a direct message on Instagram, which is Gonzalo Salinas 80. It's GONZALOSALINAS 80.
Perfect. We'll have that on the screen for everybody. So thank you, Gonzalo. Deep appreciation, deep respect. You are definitely an inspiration to me in terms of how you've attacked this this issue in your life and how you've overcome it, and your mission of helping men. We need it. We definitely need it, and there's no shame in admitting our need for help. And I think that's one of the greatest bridges towards becoming healthy, is to step into vulnerability and step into power. So on behalf of myself, everybody watching, and my little girl Nina, who stayed with me for this whole conversation on my lap, that's why I've been having my hands on my lap, we all want to thank you so much, and remind everybody to let love free, because it's the only way we'll ever change anything, and in this case, heal ourselves. Thank you, brother. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.